I will extend a little bit your warm introduction and talk a little bit about myself and also about the business that I have worked for. Then we will go straight to the question how to develop data science function in traditional business. And then we have hopefully 5 minutes for your questions, in case I will not go to deep details of all that I'm gonna present today. So who is my target audience today? I expect that you either a C-level executive that's thinking about introducing data science and artificial intelligence practice in your regular business, or just curious data scientist or data engineer or MLOps, part of existing data science team in traditional business, or you business professional that moves towards head of data science or some kind of data science leadership role. And for you guys, this presentation will be of more use because it is the story of this kind of man. And for the C-level executive and other guys, it could be a good reference about, who is the head of data science, what are his functions, and how the things works when he tries to build this from scratch. A couple of words about me. I also, as Brian, I hadn't technical background before I got to grocery retail in Ukraine. So I got my first degree in transport technologies and the second one in supply chain management and logistics. I also originally came to the logistic part of business, and then I came across data science and AI and switched to IT. And I managed to create data science function in the second largest grocery retail in Ukraine, but need to say that not without some luck and decent amount of help. And regarding my career path, in 2012, I was a conductor of train on the international route of Ukrzaliznytsia. I don't know how it's related to data science, but I think it's a funny fact. Then I got to FOSI Group in 2015. And in 2018, I moved from logistics to IT, and I was officially assigned task to create data science function in this company. And in 2020, last year, the so-called Laboratory of Artificial Intelligence Innovation, or ZLab in short, was created. So couple of words about this ZLab. It started from one man, which was me. It gained its own organizational unit at the beginning of the spring 2020, but what it means that when we started this journey, we of course hired some people to do the job, but until some point we were keeping low profile. So we were hiring to the other departments and performing data science, artificial intelligence related tasks. And then we officially opened the lab. This is the way how you can approach things if you are unsure about their future. And as a light of spring 2021, the lab consists of more than 30 professionals of all kinds, including Python developers, data engineers, data scientists, data architects, even business analysts, UI, UX designers, DevOps, etc. And we had 5 successfully delivered projects and also more than 15 ongoing projects in different sectors of business. And also we managed to develop the several centers of expertise in computer vision, natural language processing, time series forecasting, virtual reality, and others. I would need to say a little bit more about business that we were in when we were developing this lab. So FOSI Group is a huge holding, which consists from 26 roughly different businesses. It includes grocery retail chains, 4 of them, some pharmacy, some logistics companies, its own banking, its own postal service, etc. But the most important company inside the FOSI Group is Silpo. This is a grocery retail chain that accounts for almost 80% of total holding revenues. and it is characterized by the level of innovation. It won several awards in 2 consecutive years as the most innovative retail business in Ukraine. And it mostly concentrated in Kyiv, which is the capital of Ukraine, but it also has presence across all country. And it has a huge customer base of 10 million households, and 55% of them participating in the loyalty program. So we know who buying what at what time. And just to to give you a little bit of feeling, what is Silpo and why is it huge thing? This is how the new Silpo normally looks outside, and this is how it looks inside. So the main idea of the CEO of the company is to create space that's not boring, because with online technologies coming, the brick and mortar stores, they become more and more obsolete, and to keep constant flow of people inside, and just to have fun. That's how the new stores are looking right now. And I would like also to mention the motivation of business like Silpo. Why do you even care? Like, why do you want to go to data science and AI? I would like to share this quote of Nishita Henry. She was a speaker in 2019 New York Retail Fair Show. And she told that every company is a technology company, no matter what product or service it provides. And the companies that embrace this fact are the ones that shape our world. You probably know this huge haste about digitalization to make your business omni-channel, to increase it present in internet, to optimize things, and a lot of work. It's going through the embedding data science practices and artificial intelligence. This is the main points that we are going to discuss today. I'm not going to read them out because we're going to see them just in a minute. But what I like to say is that this is more like a general view on the organization of your data science function, because of course every business is different, and the recipe for the small business and the huge corporation will be different, and a lot of things depends on the culture and other prospects, whether or not you have your own IT department yet, or you need to go from scratch and maybe to develop some functions that need to be developed before you go to data science. But I would like to say that no matter what, this information could be useful because it helps organize things. And despite it's pretty general, it also could be applied for different scenarios. So the first stage is preparation phase. And of course, before creating your own data science function, you need to know who is the head of data science and what it needs to be one. There is a popular image on the internet. What is data science? What is required to be a data scientist? And usually this look like this one, or it has some alterations. Sometimes they add things like data analytics here, or DevOps, MLOps. But I like this one because it's neither comprehensive nor vague or bizarre. It's pretty straightforward. So to be a good data scientist, you need to know computer science, you need to know math and statistics, and you need to have some business domain expertise. The funny thing is that if you analyze the jobs posting on some jobs aggregator like the Glassdoor, you will find that the requirements for heads of data science, for the lead data scientist, they are not as severe as for senior data scientists, for example, or other specialists. So it is expected that you will have some knowledge of computer science and math statistics, but usually they have less mentioning about techniques and areas of knowledge, and they more focused on personality traits. Of course, it is obvious in a way because this is a leadership role, but at the same time, it's really valuable to know these things because, as you can see from this graph, the difference between the level of comprehension, for example, for techniques and areas of knowledge is not too big for manager and specialist. So it is expected that you will have a rather broad understanding of the field, then learn some specific technique like neural networks or gradient boosting machines or some specific programming language like Scala or Python. And you can use this knowledge to manage things in general. And to become a good head of data science, you need to prepare yourself. So the first bit of advice, educate yourself as much as possible, but do not over-prepare yourself. So what it means is that, of course, especially if you don't have a technical background, you need to learn about data science, AI, you need to fill the gap in your math education, take some courses, practice data science applications on your own, study how the companies that you like work with data science, how they organize process. But as soon as you will get to the point when you're comfortable enough, you need to move forward. So the main case here is, just to feel how it should work and then do the practice as soon as possible. The second step is opportunities analysis. So once you have prepared yourself, once you know what are real limitations and implications of the AI and data science, you can analyze, okay, how you can apply it to your business. And the first thing to do is to analyze your business process. And if you don't have currently one, established in some kind of visual form, you might need even maybe draw it. Sometimes you need to see your sales funnel if your business is product centered. But the point here is to see, okay, what is your process and how you make money from something, and what are the potential points when you can apply data science and AI. The second step is to access your income statement and try to compare your financial metrics or other metrics to the market benchmarks. So it might be that your business is not performing well, not overall, but in specific category of things. Like, for example, your logistic costs are too high comparing to your local competitors. It could indicate some potential to, apply data science and AI, and you should mark these things. And in this moment, back to your business process and find where are the processes that influence this or that metric, so you can highlight them someone and come back to them later. And the third step, once you know how big is your problem and what are potential parts of your overall business process could be, optimized or optimized or wherever, you need to find the boilerplates and cases. And I encourage you, do not reinvent the wheel. Seek for solutions and evidence. You may think in Harvard Business Review or MIT Technology Review. You can seek in scientific journals. You can go to the consulting firms' reports like McKinsey or Deloitte. You can even go to Kaggle, for example, and see whether or not they hosted the competitions that kind of similar to your problem, just to see, okay, what is expected value behind applying data science and artificial intelligence to specific business process. Let's say if you want to improve your forecasting technique, to what extent it is possible to be improved. and what is the potential monetary value based on this margin of improvement. Once you analyze your opportunities and highlighted the potential projects or maybe products to develop with the help of data science and AI, you can go to strategy development. And this is my 5 pillars of your data science strategy. All of them answer specific question. You need to start from business side because you already have knowledge of your business process and the problems and most lucrative areas for improvement. You can define the roadmap of what needs to be done and estimate potential impact and requirements. This will give you the notion of your, let's say, potential applications of data science. Then, when you have a problems stated, you can go to the next phase, which is planning your solution. Okay, let's say that you need to automate some marketing process related to serving your customers and giving them reply on their inquiries. In this case, you will probably seek for some artificial intelligence based chatbot that can automate this process. So it helps you to understand what kind of technology or what kind of solution it could be. It doesn't need to be this solution exactly, but at least you have some understanding. The third pillar is the data. And here I could relate to the previous speaker who spoke about how it's important to prepare the metadata, these assets about data. It's really important. And you need to make sure that you have the data requirements based on solution, and then check whether or not you already have this data in place and that it's well organized. And if not, where to get some more. The fourth pillar is infrastructure. So once you have the solution and data requirements, you can think about computing power that you will need to perform your task. And finally, based on all of 4 previous pillars, you can think about talents. And because you have a roadmap of your business problem solutions and infrastructure and data, which is a technical layer, you can predict where you will need the specific people to get them on board to perform specific tasks. Some tips to make your strategy work. First of all, do not ignore current state of things. This is the usually big problem in a company because people, they tend to maintain the status quo and resist to changes. Don't try to fight them. Try to understand them and find the ways to explain them why your work will not undo their work, but just help them or maybe improve some current processes. The second tip is to attract other people to participate in strategy development. You need to seek for different angles, and you also need to seek for different representatives with different mindsets from across the company. Adjust your roadmap order by multiple factors and include project's potential impact, time to implement, magnitude of change, availability of data, people, technological readiness of your company. And last, visualize your roadmap. And I need to state here that the choice of tool doesn't matter. You can do it in Excel as far as it's understood by your colleagues and by the people that will make the important decisions relating to your data science strategy. Next one, team structure. So this is my magic quadrant of data science team structure. So you have a technological separation level and the level of orientation on product or competence here. Depending on how much you are separated from entire company in terms of technologies and whether or not you're oriented on the product or on the building competence, you will have a different team structures. So what factors defining your structure? As I mentioned before, It could be the current company science and kind of office where data science function is to be deployed. The culture of the company, and here I relate to spiral dynamics, which is kind of a good reference, because traditional businesses, they usually find themselves somewhere between blue and green. And the kind of product portfolio defined by your AI ML strategy. Because if you have a diversity in technologies, it is better to have a competence-oriented teams rather than the product-oriented teams. This is the example of Vatican organizational model. When you have a moderate amount of technological separation, but you have a competence-oriented teams. So you can see that you, instead of focusing on products, you have a centers of competence here, and you have a maybe separate tech team that serves the centers of competence. You also have a consultants that work like a bridges between the other representatives of the company and your data science function. And you have some development people, maybe, because sometimes when you have a developed IT function in a company, it's better to outsource the development stage of your data science product development. And this is the example how you can interact by using this competence-based scheme. Suppose you have a products in different branches of the businesses, and the centers of competence, they can be involved in this products development. They simultaneously served by tech team, and you have a separate track managed by, let's say, the standard agile practices regarding the development of the final product, which includes your data science / artificial intelligence solution. To make some contrast, I would also like to show you briefly the product-oriented team, how it looks like. It's based on the realistic scenario of the loyalty program in Silpo. So as you see, the main difference here is that you may have specialists from different competences in different teams, but you may also have the specialists that combine different competences. So for example, in this team, the data scientists, they may have like compose some NLP models, but computer vision models as well. And those teams, they more like product oriented, which means that the product development will be more like the software development than like science. So it's more business oriented. Usually that's how the things are going when the data science function embedded into some non-technological business function, for example, marketing, logistic, or operational unit. And if you're in IT, it tends to be like more like a competence-based model. Next point, when you define your data science function structure, you can go to the talents acquisition because you know who to hire and when to hire and how to organize these people. So the overall hiring scheme will be step one, define hiring needs based on selected team structure and roadmap. As I mentioned before, this very roadmap will give you the idea who and when to hire. Then compose requirements for most urgent positions to fill. Depending on the scheme, you should hire leaders of competence and teach tech lead if you have a competence organizational structure. Otherwise, you need to hire product leaders and data scientists first. Then you can fill secondary positions and repeat everything from the second step. At some point of time, you need to delegate hiring to your leaders to some comfortable extent. And to make things quick, take risks and hire fast. I understand that in the well-established companies, there is a rigorous process of hiring, and it's of course justified. But because you are coming from traditional business, and you need to develop some new function, you don't have such luxury, because the chances are that people are not even thinking about working in your company because they don't think that it's going to be fun or it's going to be technologically challenging. So could be your competitive advantage. This is how we did things in our company, and it reduced the full loop for hiring to 1-3 days. And more importantly, you have people that are not experiencing a lot of stress, because data scientists, they best working when they have a lot of fun. This is what you need to assess them right. So the organizational of data science process in government, I will make it quick because I'm running out of time. First of all, you need to choose one of the existing frameworks. We will see a couple of them on the next slide. Then you can select appropriate management toolkit, define communication and meetings routine, then launch crusade towards technical excellence, which means that at some point of time, you just need to improve things and automate things. Again, I could really relate to what Brian said in a previous talk, and make sure to adjust process and toolkit with every major change and pass of time, because things are changing quickly, especially in such field like data science. So don't stick to technology, and don't stick to the favorite tool. If some tools arrive on the market, please try them, especially if you feel that it's gonna bring more value to the overall process. So those are existing frameworks. I'm not gonna discuss them here, but you might need to remember that probably the oldest one is the cross-industry standard process for data mining, but you may also find some custom frameworks, and some of them by huge providers like Microsoft, AWS. And one bit of advice here is once you make yourself comfortable with some framework, do not hesitate to adjust you to your needs and to your culture. This is important because at the end of the day, no one is using framework straight off the box. You always have some things to add, and this is perfectly okay. Don't be afraid of it. The tricky point is operationalization of results. And here, the short answer to this is MLOps. Don't think too much about whether or not it should be AWS, Kubernetes, or Docker Swarm, whatever it is. Focus on practices rather than focusing on technology stack, because at the end of the day, you will hire people that will define technology stack, but you need to develop your own best practices. And 4 pieces of advice. First, you need to create boilerplates for common processes. You need to standardize what's in the box. So use decoupled and agnostic tooling and architectures. You need to ensure that people who came on board, they constantly receive training about your practices. And it is also good practice to provide various outputs for various needs. So your finished artifacts, they may come as various APIs, like Python packages maybe, or maybe web services, or maybe it will be the subscriber services using some event buses, etc. And the last point is scaling and delegation. It might appear very general, but this is how it works. First, to develop your data science function in traditional business, you need to gain support of the C-level people. And usually you gain it by turning some initial bits of data into a successful project that delivers acceptable ROI. And acceptable ROI is something that is expected by the C-level people, and it will justify team structure. So after that, you can go through all those steps that I introduced before and start to build your portfolio. And remember that it's not necessary to have every project to be successful in this portfolio. It's enough to have just a few as far as accumulated target ROI is achieved. So it gives you some kind of flexibility because this is how the science works. And once you will have a couple of these projects, you can promote leaders who will be in charge of these products, and you can grow their teams, and you can iterate through this process again and again. And by embedding these practices, you can really scale your data science function in a company, and you can even go for some crazy stuff that you wouldn't go in your traditional business mindset. You can go for something that will not promise any results at the end, but it just will be fun, and you will go there just for the sake of fun, which is kind of organization and culture that you want to build in your data science team. That was all about my presentation, and I'm ready to answer some of your questions.